We know better.
Yes. All right. So good morning, ladies. It is the 28th, Saturday at 9:20 in the morning. So we have Jane to the left. Hi, Jane to the left. And we have
Hi.
KTP to the, well, my part, it's the bottom part, the big part. I don't know. So really quick, not really quickly, but tell me a little bit about who you are and your background and how you came about CrossFit in general, please.
Jane?
No, sorry, you KTP.
Oh, me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So long story short, we traveled to Wadapalooza, January of 2019, to watch our daughter-in-law compete. And it was a wonderful experience. I've been an athlete my whole life, and it was exciting. And she finished this really great competition, and she's in her 30s, early 30s. So as they were leaving is it called a platform? The exercise platform? I'm not sure what they call it. So they were people that, and I was shocked. I said to people that were sitting next to us, well, who are these people and what are they doing here? And they looked at me like I was ignorant, and I was, because I'm not familiar with, I wasn't familiar at all with CrossFit. And they said, this is a part of the master's group. This is the 60 plus age group. And I said, they do CrossFit? People my age do CrossFit? And they said, yes. So I told my husband within 30 seconds, that's it. As soon as we get back home, I'm joining a CrossFit gym. And that's what I did.
Now, you also, I mean, it's not like you came in overweight and everything like that. You
Correct.
have been pretty
Active.
darn active.
My whole life. So my back in the, when I was in my 20s, I became, and it was after I graduated from college, I became, so we're talking now the early 80s, I became a group fitness instructor. And I've maintained that certification my entire life. So it was always, working in group fitness was always my fun part-time job. I was a teacher by trade, but my fun job was group fitness. So I would work 2 to 3 days per week to get a free membership and just benefit from group exercise.
Awesome.
Yep.
So now, why do you think, so yes, you saw it was exciting and you got really jazzed because you were like, yep, this is what I want to do. I'm going to go home. Why do you think that sparked something in you?
It was a challenge that I had never ventured into. I had never, ever done anything that involved Olympic lifting, just as an example. And I was seeking new challenges. Number one, because it was important for me to take my life in a positive direction. My parents had passed away and there were some family issues going on there. So as my other family members took things in a completely different way, being really horrible and negative and condescending, I needed to be positive. I needed to take a different direction in my life, and having these different challenges, positive challenges, were my avenue. They were just approaches that I needed to take to lead a better life.
So a lot of it stemmed from, I mean, having had a little bit more in-depth conversation with you about your care for your parents and the interesting way your siblings showed or didn't show that definitely helped mold you probably towards that a little bit. But why at an age where most people are thinking retire, were you thinking, hey, this seems like it could be terrifying. I'm going to do Olympic weightlifting. Let's do that.
No, it was more like, hey, this sounds like a good idea. And in hindsight, it was probably one of the craziest ideas, but it was, I am still young at heart. I'm very active. I am more active than lots of people that I grew up with. And I felt as though I could and can handle most of the challenges, most of those challenges. And it is very challenging for me because it was, especially with Olympic lifting, things that I had never, ever, ever done in my life. I never lifted a barbell, ever. I started when I was 59 years old, and I started with a 35-pound barbell. And now I'm up to, I don't know, over 100 pounds lifting. So it's a positive thing. Am I sore every day? Absolutely. Am I paying for that? Absolutely. But it's a challenge that I welcome because it's positive and it keeps me moving. It's when you as we age, as we progress through our life, we're only here on this planet. We have one opportunity and that's it. And my philosophy has always been just keep moving.
I like that philosophy. Just keep moving.
Just keep moving.
So Kim, when you saw those masters athletes, did you say, I want to be a masters athlete, I want to go to the games? Or was it more just you were inspired to start doing CrossFit?
It was, well, not so much the games, Wadapalooza, because that was my first experience. So I wanted to compete in Wadapalooza. And I'm a competitor. I've been, like I said, very active my whole life, but number one, I am a competitor, pretty fierce competitor. Your typical, things don't go right, I beat myself up emotionally and then snap back into, okay, you're done feeling sorry for yourself, just get moving. So it wasn't so much being in the top, 10 or 20 to go to the games. It was, I wanted to go to Wadapalooza. That was my initial.
Did she just freeze? Oh no, there you go. Okay.
Yep.
And from my point of view, since I was sitting behind the desk when she came in, and you literally said, "Hi, my name's Kim, and I want to make Wadapalooza."
Yeah.
And I think it was like either early morning or early afternoon.
It was 10 o'clock in the morning for the free whatever. 10 o'clock in the morning.
And I thought, okay, that's very specific. But to me, I think, and being part of your journey, which is always been a pleasure, by the way, I love it. Even when you're cranky and you're cantankerous and sassy and upset and disappointed. But the reason why I liked it, I think, is because by being specific, you understood, okay, here's my macro ideal. I want to go to the games. Okay, so then it was, okay, so what steps, if that's my destination, what are my steps to get there, as opposed to, yeah, I just want to be at that level, which is
right.
Me not being as competitive an athlete my whole life. when I did CrossFit and I joined, I wanted to just stay alive long enough so I could play with my kids and hang out with my grandkids if I was alive that long. Is she frozen on your screen?
Mhm.
No.
No.
Shoot, you're back. Sorry.
No, everybody's moving.
Yeah, it's probably mine. So how do you then approach CrossFit? Because a lot, like, it's such an intense, because it is. I mean, most people would love to do heavy lifting 2-a-days, a couple times a week, and this and that. How do you approach it? Something simple like when you had tendonitis, and we were learning during the qualifier on some your pull-ups and toes to bar, and all the fun things that it was interesting to be around you at that time. But how do you then approach that big goal? Because you made it into the qualifier this year for the CrossFit Games, not just Wadapalooza, for the CrossFit Games, and then you also, and then in the qualifier you came in 72nd.
Mm-hmm.
72nd.
Yeah.
And that's worldwide. That's not Michigan. That's not Wayne County,
Right.
Oakland County. That's worldwide. And so, how does that big ultimate goal apply to you? How you approach your, I guess, daily goals or the daily? Because when they say grind, it is.
Yes, it is a grind. I take one day at a time, and I approach. Do you mean like the workouts, or I
Whatever that means to you, because a lot of people, I think, it is, and Jane, you can correct me if I'm wrong or help me out here because I'm like discombobulated, but it's kind of like your why. I want to do this. This is what I want. Here's my goal.
Right.
Well, how do I do that and stay motivated?
Okay. Yep.
Kind of thing.
So I have my strengths, without a doubt. I have my strengths, but I also have lots of weaknesses. And after the qualifier, I decided that I have to focus more on my weaknesses than my strengths. I'm an endurance athlete. I could go forever, swimming, biking, running. I can do that kind of stuff. My weakness pertains to anything that's related to, the gymnastics moves. So then I take a step back and say, okay, I'm limited at this, that, and the other thing. What can I do to make myself better at this, that, and the other thing? And of course, practice is one of those things. But it also relates to technique, which is intertwined with the practice, but also strength. And my limitations right now are my shoulders. I have had terrible tendonitis, bicep tendonitis in both shoulders, and that has been very limiting. So I received a cortisone shot right before the qualifier. That was wonderful. But now I'm dealing with the other shoulder again. So I have to take a step back. I have to rest. I have to, I'm 60 years old now. I have to ice these things and take care of these. Thankfully, they're just minor injuries, but they're chronic. So I have to take a step back and then just do other things just to keep myself motivated. It's very challenging as a competitive athlete to deal with these chronic issues time and time again. And it's disappointing, it's frustrating. And this is where I beat myself up. And then I take that step back and say, okay, it's not the end of the world. There's so many other things that are far worse than your damn tendonitis. put things into perspective, and then rest and ice and do the things that I need to do. My body's telling me something and I have to listen to my body.
Yeah,
So do you set like micro goals? Jeff said, you know, you came in with a macro goal of going to the Wadapalooza, but do you have like weekly or monthly goals?
No. My goals are, I don't put a time frame on them because I don't think that's really productive in my case. And I put my age as my limiting factor. And the fact that I've had like zero experience with any kind of gymnastics things in my life other than starting CrossFit. So I put, it's more like a year goal. Like I told myself, all right, by December 31st, you will be able to do pull-ups, maybe 2 or 3 in a row, kipping pull-ups, but you will be able to do them. And I did that. I met that goal. So my kipping, handstand push-ups, and I'm able to do them, but I have like a 40-pound plate and an ab mat underneath my head. So now my next goal is to make that weight smaller, like a 30-pound weight and an ab mat, until I'm able to finally do them with my head directly on the mat, or the floor, I should say. So it's not so much, and I haven't given myself a time frame with that yet, just given that everything's shut down. I do have a setup in the basement, and I haven't tried anything yet. But with handstand push-ups, again, my limiting factor are my shoulders. They start to hurt, I have to stop.
So do you usually have like one goal at a time then? Or, because I think one thing I do is I'll have like very specific goals and I'll give myself timelines, but I have too many, and then, you know, it just doesn't work out with my schedule.
It doesn't. It becomes a hazardous mess. So no, I just, it is. It's too much. And I just think of my teaching days when we were told by administration, in addition to doing this, that, and the other thing, you have to do these 5 other things and then these 10 other things. And Jeff can relate to this. I am ADD. I went to my principal and I said, this will not work for me, because in my mind, I have to do all of them and they all have to be perfect. I'm type A as well. It's a hot mess. Anyway, I said, it's a hot mess. So I said, give me something that is workable, sustainable, and something that I can have success at. And I'm saying, pick maybe 3 of these 20 things. Give me 3 that I can work on. And
but then you crush those 3 things.
And I crush those 3 things. So we have to, in my mindset, we can't just say, okay, I'm going to do all of these things and they're going to be crushed. I'm going to knock them out and they're going to be wonderful, you know, in a month's time, or you know, within 6 months or whatever. I choose one thing, just one thing, and I give myself a nice lengthy time frame. And again, because one of my limiting factors is my age and my inexperience and my shoulders. It's too much, you get defeated. If you put too many goals on your plate, it's easy to become defeated and just back away and say, forget this. I can't attain these goals. I'm just going to quit and do something else. They've got to be attainable and in a reasonable time frame too. And that's different for everybody.
What I think I like is, to me, it is kind of what you do is you have one main goal that you're working towards. And even though you don't put a time frame on the micro goals, you actually do set micro goals, because being able to string 2 and your double unders. And, you know, it's not, okay, in my goal is to make Wadapalooza, but I know I'm going to have to do double unders. So I'm just going to work, like, you give yourself, to me, it seems like you give yourself permission to say, okay, I'm just within the confines of that big goal. My time frame is still that big goal. So whatever I do is going to be working in there. So you're not saying, okay, I have to have, because that's Jane, I am so much like that. Like, that freaked me out that you said that, because that's what I do. And all of a sudden I have this list, and I have 2 things on the list that are good, and everything else I'm like, screw this list. Stupid list. So what I do is I don't have, okay, that one specific goal, time frame goal. And then understand I don't need to do different time frames for these other goals, because they're still working towards that one main goal.
Yep.
And I like that, because yeah, I'm like, I killed myself by 1,000 cuts, because I was like, oh no, that's what I want to do. Now I need to do 20 double unders in a row. And then you get 20 double unders, you're like, because it took me 4 years to get 50. And I stopped at 50 because I got so excited, and I was like, wait, I should have kept going. And then I couldn't get 50 again for another month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still only on 54. And now I'm like, oh, this is kind of difficult because it's like, I can do them outside now. And I can do sets of 25 relatively easy, but my main goal is to be able to do continuous double unders. And then what I do is, instead of making it so that I'm pretty much almost guaranteed to fail or disappoint myself, not even fail, but disappoint myself, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
I then just say, okay, the main goal is for me to not lose these.
Right.
So, because right now I'm freaking out, because I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do a muscle up. I don't know if and that was such a fun